Welcome everybody that is joining. We're just going to give it a few more minutes to have more people joined. So we'll start in a little bit. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and start. We have a lot of really good information to share, and we want to make sure we're respectful to everybody that joined us. So thank you for joining us to our How to Position Yourself for Success webinar. This is a cross-council collaborative education brought up to you by our councils, multiple councils, and we appreciate everybody that is joining right now. We're going to give you a brief agenda of what is going to happen today. We're so excited that you're here. Today isn't just a webinar. We don't want it just to be just another webinar. We want this to be your launch pad to defining your own personal brand in a way that it's bold, authentic, and it's career boosting for yourself. This is going to be a fast-paced, interactive pack of insights. Make sure you're taking notes. Make sure you're speaking up. If you have any questions, just join us. Write it up in the chat. We'll be monitoring the chat. You're going to be hearing for industry pros reflect on your digital footprint, you're going to roll up your sleeves in a breakout group so you can practice your elevator pitch in real time. Think about your personal branding as a lab that we're going to come here with a group of professionals that are going to help you build ideas to boost your confidence, to spark your connections, and end up the day today where you have a solid information on how to do your brand and talk about your value statement, what you bring with the companies. My name is Maru Trevino. I'm an HR leader with over 2 decades of experience building teams and driving organizational success. I'll be your guide for today and helping you tap into the strengths and ask the right questions. And so you can walk away with a brand that truly reflects who you are and where you're headed. So lean in, speak up, and let's make this count for your next career move. Let's meet our amazing group that is going to be in our panel. We're going to start introducing Jacki Lutz. She is the Director of Content at Audio Care Association, where she leads award-winning communication strategies and hosts the Carpool Conversations podcast. With over a decade of industry experience, Jacki brings a deep understanding of how to craft and evolve a personal brand, build meaningful connections, network, and present yourself with confidence. Thank you, Jacki, and welcome.
Thank you.
Our next presenter is Kathryn Reinhardt. She's a veteran marketing strategist, currently leading creative marketing and serving on the SEMA board of directors. With leadership roles at brands like Hemmings, 4 Wheel Parts, and MagnaFlow, Kathryn will share how strong personal brand can influence career advancements, job opportunities, and salary growth, and how to tailor your pitch across all platforms and formats. Jacki, welcome. Kathryn, welcome.
Thank you.
And our third is Jerid Suchy. He's the Director of Sales at BuiltRight Industries, where he leads growth strategy across multiple sales channels. With a career rooted in the aftermarket, account, and territory management, Jerid brings a sharp focus to build your digital presence, especially on LinkedIn. As chair of the SEMA Future Leaders Network, Jerid is passionate about empowering the next generation of aftermarket leaders. We are thrilled to have such a dynamic group of speakers sharing their experience and personal journeys with you. So let's get started. Welcome, Jerid.
Thank you.
Let's start talking with our personal brand. Here's where I'm going to put Jacki as our expert. So, Jacki, can you help us? Can you give us an introduction about what personal brand is?
Sure. Yeah. Personal brand, it's a kind of a buzzword that's come out in the past decade, thrown out all the time. What I think the way I look at it is, everybody has a personal brand, just like every company has a brand, whether or not they work on it or not, and whether or not it's successful and resonating with people. Everybody, companies have a brand and people have a brand. You walk around flying flags every day. And the idea of personal branding, and I prefer to call it self branding because I believe your personal brand is completely in your control. Like, yes, we all walk around flying flags, but you can be very dictative of what those are, and you can make changes to the personal brand that you have today. So, but the way to look at it is really what kind of opportunities you want in your career and frankly in your life, and make sure that your personal brand is getting you there. Again, we all have a personal brand, but it's whether or not it's serving us. And there are different ways you can view your personal brand to really help you resonate with the right people and to get your name thrown in the right hats for certain opportunities. If you do the work and you kind of take it seriously, I've seen careers change because of strong personal brands. And at the end of the day, when it comes to building your career, there could be somebody up for an opportunity that has almost the same exact resume as you do. 4-year degree, 5 years in a, entry-level role or whatever the resume is. But what can define you is the work that you do behind your personal brand and the network that you've built and, what that personal brand means. And it's really just a combination of your values, your experiences, your perspective, and the way that you are able to simplify all that and tie a bow around it and present it and communicate it, and then how well you do in promoting that brand is really what's going to make you set yourself apart.
So where do anybody start, right? So that sometimes feels overwhelming, right? If I were to say, Jacki, tell me what questions can I ask myself, or where do I start to start defining what my brand is? What are
Yeah,
those?
it's 100%. And I would say not just with your personal brand, but with your life as you embark on designing your life, you should nail down what your personal values are, and make sure that your personal brand is pointing in that direction, that every career move you make is pointing in that direction, every life move you make is pointing in that direction. I know when I walk through I have a whole workshop based just on values and how to define what your values are. And they walk away with their top 5 values, and everything should revolve around them. Like, one of mine is spreading love in the world. So whenever I go on LinkedIn and somebody's posted something that I disagree with, or somebody comes on one of my posts and says, a snarky comment, the way I respond to that needs to be spreading love. Otherwise, I'm preaching one thing and doing another, and nobody will resonate with my personal brand because they're not aligned, and I'm not going to build the trust that I want to build with my brand. So, defining what those values are for you and where you want, it's going to define how you do every single other thing. When it comes to your personal brand, when it comes to your career, you got to start with a strong foundation of what you believe in, what's important to you, and what your values are.
So if I still don't have that clear, how is that relevant? Let's say if I go online, if I Google myself and things come out about myself, and could that give me a north where my brand is that it's out there?
I think that's a good indication of your digital presence, which I know Jerid's going to talk about more later. But I think a really good test for digital presence, I actually just did an episode about this a couple months ago, but go on ChatGPT and say, tell me more about Jacki Lutz from the Auto Care Association. And if it is accurate and it gives a good depiction of my history and where I've been in my previous roles and what I stand for and all these things, and I know that my digital presence is very well rounded. But if I go on there and the only thing I see is only the Auto Care Association and only that I'm a content director because it pulled one PR for when I got hired, then you got some work to do. And I've actually had people do that, and they're like, "This isn't even like me. Like this isn't anywhere close to my who I am." I'm like, "Well, that shows that there's another Jacki Lutz out there who has a bigger digital presence than me, right? And it's pulling the wrong information." So, yeah, it's a really good depiction of it for sure.
Okay. Jared, do you have anything? I see your wheel spinning on personal brand.
No, I think Jackie hit the nail on the head. I think using ChatGPT is I think it's pretty common now that everybody uses that tool, but I think it's one of the tools that I kind of point to pretty frequently to kind of get a gut check on where you are. Google is obviously a great option as well, just to um, check to see where you are and make sure that it's you're in alignment across really all the digital platforms that you're on, and make sure the messaging across all of those platforms really syncs up, because the message you might put out on one platform completely is different than, say, your LinkedIn profile, right? And if those messages are conflicting, then sometimes that what's being put out there in the world is not going to be specifically what you want, right? So I think that's all good points.
So my personal brand needs to be consistent across all platforms. That's what you're saying. So I can be, I don't know, one person in Facebook, let's say. I think it's the old
Yeah.
platform now, but coming up with you know, I don't know, posting things about partying, posting things about all these things, and now on my other platforms, I want to have a different persona, a different type of you.
You certainly may not want all of your college profiles of like me myself, in your old college profile pics at parties, doing cake stands, you know, in Facebook, for sure.
Okay.
And
So
just to add to that, Maru, I would say, I mean, I've seen people be really successful with, um, I know somebody in my life who has a pretty good LinkedIn presence. But then on her Instagram, she really focuses on a hobby of hers, which is fitness. And that's really the focus of Instagram, which has nothing to do with her everyday career. She's a VP of communications. So I've seen people do both, but I think what's really important is the values, right? Those values that you set should not conflict across platforms. So if your value is sobriety and then you have, keg stands on Facebook, your brand's going to be a little, sketchy. So just food for thought.
So where would I go start? Do I start, if again, we can make a list of my personal values or what I think my brand is. Could I get an accountability partner on my family and my friends and my coworkers and ask, hey, what do you think my brand is? How do you define me in 3 words? Is that something that we can use to start?
I think you could. There's a lot of resources out there that you could do. One thing I always suggest to people is to ask. So, like, there's different exercises, but there's really 5 different dimensions of brand personality, and you can look those up. And I can try to recite them, but I'll probably get them wrong. One is conscientiousness, how you handle stress, your extroversion versus introversion. Like there's these 5 dimensions, and you can kind of fill it out yourself. But I think a really good practice is to then have like your closest coworker also fill it out for you too, or your spouse or somebody just very close with you, and see if they align. Because one thing that I think is a huge struggle is people have a different perception of themselves than what people have of them. Like a lot of times we say things in our head that make perfect sense to us, but whatever came out wasn't the same. And that's another whole section of personal branding when you get into even brand reputation, like personal branding is what you put out into the world. This is how I want the world to see me. I did all this work. This is my personal brand. Here's my bow, putting it out into the world. Here's my content. But how the world decides to receive it is a completely different conversation and actually isn't in your control at all. So it's a long, drawn out conversation, but something to think about, like make sure that you're doing the homework to see how you're coming across to other people too, because I truly believe you can change any of that. So, when you think about like, how do you come across to people, you might think you're just being helpful, but you might be coming across very direct and kind of cold. And that makes you less approachable and makes you less of a utilization for other people and less of a resource to other people. So you just definitely want to do that work and get the different perspective.
Think how often should I revisit or refresh my personal brand? Is it something that evolves?
Yes, all the time. Like, and I always suggest, have 3 to 4 themes to your personal brand. Don't just be like, I'm the content director of the Auto Care Association, because what if tomorrow I'm no longer the content director for the Auto Care Association? I just built my entire personal brand on something that no longer exists, and now I'm starting from scratch. So I would say pick 3 to 4 themes to your personal brand. It can be professional themes. So it can be, one of those can definitely be your professional role at your company. Maybe it's something else that you're interested in too, like public speaking, or maybe you're a podcast host, something like that. It can be a personal element. I know on mine, I always talk about being a working mom, for example, just putting some humanity into your personal brand. It can also be other endeavors, like working for the charitable foundation or things like that, whatever is meaningful to you. Have these 3 to 4 themes of your brand that most of your content kind of falls under. So you start to become known for those types of opportunities that are coming your way. Think about those opportunities that you want with your personal brand. And that will help you understand too, like what kind of content to be putting out there if you want to start doing that. And yeah, that way, if one of those changes, like, being a working mother wasn't always part of my brand up until 5 years ago. So, just make sure that it's always evolving and your interests might always evolve too. So, one day you might want to be a public speaker. The next day you're like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to write, or I want to be a blogger, or I want to do something else. So, as long as you have 3 to 4, you can always switch one in and out, and you're still going to have a solid foundation for your personal brand.
Thank you. We have another slide that you put together regarding about self-promoting that is really talking about our brand. So I'm going to move forward to that, and I'm going to, advance it as you speak towards that slide. So if you want to start with that one.
Oh, me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is about self-promotion, which is super cringy, especially to women. Like the word self-promote is like, ugh, it just feels weird. And these are just some headlines that I found online. Women are less inclined to self-promote than men, even for a job. Study finds female workers deep discomfort over touting skills, experience adds to gender gap in promotions and pay. There should be another one. Self-promotion is necessary for vertical career advancement. Women are often reluctant to engage in self-promotion. Those who do are typically penalized for their efforts anyway. The ability to self-promote, it's well documented that women are less inclined to talk about their achievements than men, largely due to a culture that mandates female modesty for a number of reasons.
Mhm.
I think there's one more.
Yes.
Yeah. Statistics show that over 69% of women prefer to downplay their accomplishments instead of promoting them. That's like, instead of like, even if you had the nerve to actually say, like, look at this thing I did, instead of saying that, we're saying, like, this thing I did wasn't that important. It wasn't a big deal. It didn't take a lot of that. Like, we're literally doing the disservice. We're not even like, not servicing ourselves. We're also just like doing ourselves a disservice in the process of things. So all of this is to say that women need to do a better job. And there's ways to promote yourself in the work. I have a fly just driving me crazy here. There's ways to talk about yourself in the great work that you did that doesn't feel cringy, right? Like usually you have help getting to where you are, or usually you have help when you have success. It really helps just to say, look at what my team and I did, or like, look at this award that I won. I have to thank these 3 people. The person that nominated me, here's a ode to you. You can toss it out. It's already about you. You don't have to say, look at me, look at me. The whole message is already about you, but you can toss it out and also either thank other people, or you can also talk about the journey that you had. It's always about the story. It doesn't always have to be about just the fact that you won an award or you got in a promotion. It can also be about like, why does that award mean so much to you? Make it helpful to somebody, right? Like take the spotlight off of just the fact that you won the award and more about the fact that you started from scratch and you had to really work with mentors to develop this skill, and you worked for a couple years to get there, and you've been really patient, and now you're here, and how much that means to you, and like bring people along with this journey, kind of show the humanity in it. And you can do it in humble ways. But really, the factor here is that if you don't talk about it these days, did it even happen?
Right.
Like with how loud people can be on LinkedIn and touting their skills and all this stuff. If you're not talking about the things that you do and the accomplishments that you've had, the person that is talking about it is the only one people are talking about. So when those opportunities come up, Jacki's name is not in that hat because I didn't talk about the fact that I did this hard thing, that I got up on stage and did this speaking engagement that terrified me, like showing my skills, showing my bravery, showing that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that's going to bring people into my brand, that's going to make people trust me, like me, want to follow it. And then when those opportunities come up, I'm going to be top of mind. And that's really the point of personal branding, is to be top of mind when those opportunities come up. And you have to just get comfortable talking about your accomplishments, because it's not arrogant to talk about the accomplishments you've had. You can do it in arrogant ways, but it's not arrogant to promote yourself.
Thank you. Well, that leads us to our next section, which is our elevator pitch, also known as value statement. You can hear it in both ways. I think to me personally, elevator pitch seemed like I was going to sell something. And yes, we're selling ourselves, but with value statement, it kind of settled a little bit more with me to talk about what you're saying, right? How do I show my value? How do I talk about what do I bring to the table? So on this one, we're going to bring in Kathryn. She's going to guide us through elevator speech, and I'll have a few questions for you, Kathryn, if you want to start with your statement about your elevator pitch.
Oh, yeah. One of the things I really appreciate about SEMA and APEX, both the shows themselves, but all the events that they put on throughout the entire year, this gives you endless opportunities to really develop your elevator pitch. And it's about yourself. And I always break mine down into really 6 different sections. And bear with me, I know 6 sounds like a lot to some people, but when you get it down, it becomes really, really easy. And of course, the first thing is, who are you? What's your name? What do you do? And that's a big portion of how people see you, is your job responsibility. And so that's important to put in there. But also, what is your passion and why you do it? And sometimes that can actually take over the conversation. And to me, that's the most exciting part, because I want to know who you are and what you do, but why do you do it? What do you love about it so much that you want to wake up every day and do this day in and day out? And if you can say it in a complimentary way, it attracts more people to you in that conversation, and honestly gives you more minutes to really talk about who you are and keep your elevator pitch going. The next part about it is the time. How long have you been doing this? And that might help somebody understand that you're new to this, or you've been doing it a long time. And that position in that conversation can really tell you, I'm new, so therefore I'm eager to learn more. Or I've been doing this a long time, so I'm really respected and I have a lot of experience. The other part is, what company do you work for? Because sometimes that can attract new people as well. If they've never heard of your company, it's a chance for you to teach them about your company. But also, if they know that brand, oh, wow, I'd love to work with you more because I know that brand and I want to do more with you. And then the last part about that is honestly the future. What do you want out of this conversation? What do you want as a next step for you? And I always like to end my elevator pitch with, my name is Kathryn. I work for creative marketing. I have been passionate about this industry for the last 20 years, and I want to go and do X next. And sometimes that illuminates an opportunity for you and that person to partner up on something or have a synergy together. And that's what I'm always looking for in conversations. How is this conversation going to lead to another step together? And I think that's important, because I don't want to just talk to people to talk to people. I want to have authentic conversations that I can either help somebody else, which I really love to do. I love to connect people together, or I want to look for opportunities that can help me, my company, or someone I know in the future. So developing that elevator pitch It can be a daunting task. It sounds crazy to some people. It sounds like I don't know how to do that.
Right.
But you can totally do this. It's really easy. Write down those 6 things about yourself, and you can probably do it in about 30 seconds. It's really that simple. But craft it, memorize it so you can say it on repeat without stuttering or going long and, annoying people. You have to be able to be concise, say it quickly, and say it in an authentic way that develops into something more.
So I know you just told me write 6 things about you, but what if I feel like I have nothing special about me? Where do I go?
Special. Everybody does. You're special in your own way. Jacki said 2 really special things about herself. It was being a mom, and it was being a part of auto care. A lot of people on this call may not even know what auto care is. And that's a whole nother segment of the industry that I would be sitting here Googling going, what is that? And how do I get involved? There's so many things that are probably redundant and normal to you, but you don't know how that's going to spark someone else in the future. And if you talk about it passionately, then I'm going to be really interested in that part of your life and who you are.
How do you incorporate on your statement something that reflects both? And I know Jacki alluded to these, right? A statement about my professional skills and my personal values, right? Because I can be passionate about a lot of things in my personal life that it may not be. Sometimes it feels like in the world that we live a little bit, we feel like we have to walk on eggshells, not to mention certain topics or certain things as I don't know what reaction we're gonna get. So how do I smartly incorporate 2 elements that will allow me to feel that confident to say this is my value statement and it encompasses everything that who I am?
One of the things that I love that Jacki also talked about was being able to talk about yourself and your goals. One of the things I do every year, and this may be oversharing, but I love to write down my goals of what I want to accomplish that year. And these are my personal goals, and I will even post them. And sometimes I'm probably oversharing in that, but I love it for a couple of reasons. One, it holds me accountable. I'm going to put this on paper and I'm going to share it with people. So I'm expecting that people are going to say, hey, you didn't accomplish that, or, that's something I noticed that I want to do too. So then you can also create partnerships with people where maybe they want to either do it with you, or this has happened to me several times. People say, I can actually make that happen for you. One of the things I wanted to do was go into the Goodyear hot air balloon. And I actually had 3 people reach out to me that year and say, I can help make that happen for you. I didn't know how to do it. So it's like little things like that. If you're able to share your goals and your, what you want to achieve, you'd be surprised how many people actually want to help you out there. And so I always write them down and I share them. And that kind of ties into back what Jacki said about achievements. It's very important that when you accomplish something, celebrate that win. And even if it's small and minute and it may seem like you were just doing your job, tell people about that, because we don't know the minutia you're dealing with on a daily basis. And that may sound small, but to someone else, that may be really large. And I always want to be that person where I talk about the things that I accomplish, but I want people to recognize those accomplishments and talk about me when I'm not in that room. And that's important because that's how opportunities come to you. Whether it's a job, whether it's joining a new group, whether it's being considered for an award, all of those little things that you do on a day-to-day basis add up. And if you can articulate those and share them humbly where it makes sense, then those are opportunities that are going to come to you in the future that you may not even be able to see around the corner.
Awesome. Thank you. So that ties in next perfectly to our networking.
You're welcome, Jerid.
So, Jerid, you want to talk to us about networking?
Yeah, absolutely. Networking, both in person and online, I think are extremely important. For this particular component, I think really focusing on in-person networking is I think will be really beneficial. That's one of the awesome things about SEMA, and Apex, just as Kathryn mentioned about the show, but also all the different programs that are put on. I can speak personally for myself. There have been multiple opportunities that I've had that I've been able to take advantage of, specifically from the networking that's happened. And I had a couple of mentors like super early on in my career. When I got started, I first got started at a small company called PRW in Southern California. And one of my early mentors was like, hey, just get involved with SEMA. It doesn't matter what you do, specifically at the time, especially since I was pretty young in the industry. It was, for those of you that may know or remember, it was YEN, or Young Executive Network at the time. Now we've all rebranded, right? But it was YEN at the time. And he said, get involved. There's all sorts of great opportunities for you to just go hang out and network and meet people within the industry. And that'll provide so many different opportunities for you. Fast forward, shoot over 12 years later, now I'm the chair of what is now FLN, what was YEN at the time. And I'm kind of trying to give back and do kind of the same thing for younger people that are entering the industry now. And I think I've done a pretty decent job of kind of building that network and building a roadmap for myself. Whereas I started at PRW, and every single job that I've gotten in this industry has been through those little networking opportunities. It's going to those going to general membership meetings, or it's going to things like this SBN and joint councils are putting on, and being able to meet somebody, connect with them in person, and then as well as follow up with them online, and yeah, follow with them online and be consistent with being able to kind of follow up. And again, that's really, I think, what it's about, and just building those connections.
Do you think the landscape of networking has changed since now social media has changed, and digital presence is more important than going meeting into a networking event, right? Because a lot of even networking events have evolved to now online.
Sure. Yeah, like again, this is a great example of that. I think you can't overstate the importance of interpersonal and in-person networking, but the landscape has changed. So that's where it kind of ties into, I think, our conversation about digital presence and how important it is to make sure that all of your platforms and your profiles align with, again, who you are as an individual when somebody meets you in person. So again, your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook profile, your Instagram, or whatever happens to be relevant for you, those need to align. And I think it's important that the messaging for all of those is consistent, right? And those
And it
values that
is
we go ahead. I'm sorry.
right
Yeah.
now, and it is so important from the HR perspective. I can tell you, referrals are a small fraction of all the applications that we get, but they're far more likely to lead to interviews and to land offers, right? Because we don't only worry about just bringing talent, we're worrying about retention. And somebody that is referred by somebody is invested in their success, so they stay longer. It boosts organizational stability and reduces turnover costs, right? So efficiency, obviously, from the HR standpoint, we want happy employees, and we want people that want to stay with the company. So referrals, although a lot of people think, oh, well, the referrals are very a small percentage of the thousands of applications that we may get, but those are the ones that I'm going to give a priority. If I have somebody in my organization that is willing to put their name on this person, I'm going to give them a priority, and I'm going to give them the opportunity. So it is really important to us to networking and to get to know people and to get the organization, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that can't be overstated. And I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but almost every opportunity that I've had for a job opportunity or career opportunity has been from a referral, and it's just meeting those individuals, the right place at the right time, and it's that personal, again, tying back into, I think, everything here. It's that personal value statement that you're able to share with that individual in your elevator pitch, and that gets followed up on, and it becomes, you're way more likely to get an interview, for sure.
Okay. Well, let's move to our last portion so we can move to our workout session. So we're going to talk about digital presence. How do you define a strong digital presence in today's professional world, Jerid? What does that mean to have a strong digital presence?
Yeah, I think like a strong digital presence means, like, so when somebody searches your name, whether it's kind of a potential employer, customer, somebody you might be collaborating with, they're going to find kind of like that accurate and consistent and compelling picture of who you are, what your value proposition is, what you're going to bring to the table there. So I don't think it's just about being like visible. It's about being really intentional with the message that you're putting out there. So I think all of your online profiles really need to reflect what your expertise is, your values, what your personality is, and it's got to kind of build trust and credibility. So again, I think we're seeing a lot of common themes between what Jacki spoke about, what Kathryn spoke about. I think it's kind of like tying it all together.
Okay, so what are the key platforms that I need to be looking at right now? And any of you can answer that question. Like, and it could be different perspectives, right? Because I also think, depend on your expertise and your area that you're going to be working, some platforms seem to be more important than other ones. So I don't know if you have an insight on that.
Certainly anybody can answer this, but I think LinkedIn, to me, is obviously the most professional facing platform that's out and current to this date. So I think that if you were going to focus on one platform to really kind of create and craft your personal brand, so to speak, digitally, it would be on LinkedIn. But I mean, Facebook and Instagram again are still commonly used, and everybody uses them in their interpersonal life. So it shouldn't be something you overlook. But happy to hear from anybody else that has different preference.
You know, if I'm in a sales role or I'm trying to make a deeper connection with someone, I might look them up on Instagram and Facebook and find if there is a similarity. Maybe we both have kids, or maybe we both have dogs, or maybe we both love to go hiking. Whatever it is, there is an opportunity to use that if you can see it, in order to personalize your pitch or your approach to that person. So I never leave it out, but it's not my go-to. Like Jerid said, I would obviously use LinkedIn as my first and foremost, but if I needed to have a personalized approach, I might Google them and look for their social media handles.
Well, thank you. Jacki, do you have anything to add before we go to breakout rooms?
No, I'm obviously a big LinkedIn fan, but I will, and especially when it comes to like just building your career, that's why people are on the platform, is to network, is to build their own networks and to learn from you and learn from each other. And just to add to something Jerid said real quick before we break out, when it comes to your digital presence and your personal brand, I think it was Dale Carnegie who said, people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So the purpose of having a well thought out personal brand and almost like a strategy, you could call it, and then a strong digital presence is that more people know you in general. They know your face, they know your name, they know what you're about. And as you're consistent with it, and as you do the work and you're putting out the right content and, talking about your accomplishments and things like that, and you're doing it consistently, hopefully more people will start to like you. Not everybody, but that's the beauty of a digital presence, is that you start to hone in on your audience. For every 10 followers you get, you'll lose one, but you're honing in on your audience and you're starting to get a niche audience that really does follow what you're saying and is behind you. And then eventually, if you're consistent enough with that audience, you're going to build trust with them. And that can all start from a digital presence. You can do the same thing in person if you're planning to be everywhere all at once. But having a strong digital presence will do a lot of work for you in, like we keep saying, in rooms that you're not in.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move to our breakout room. So what we're going to talk about, the focus will be, let's talk about identifying your brand. If for whatever reason you can't figure out, 6 things, we can ask questions about that. If you have a value statement or you want to start a sentence, you want a sentence or two, did you want us to hear about it? Let's talk about your value statement. And we're here to network. We're here to get to know each other. So we're going to do breakout rooms and we're going to spend about 10 minutes and then we're going to come back to general Q&A question. So I believe somebody is going to send us. Welcome back, everyone. Do we have everybody back? I think we do, right?
I don't know. I'm gonna just double check that because it looks a little bit smaller.
Okay. Thank you, Nicole.
It should be back in about 5 seconds.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Jericho.
Jericho's the timekeeper. Jericho's the timekeeper.
Feel like we have most. We lost a few when we went into breakouts, Maru.
You know, sometimes it's a little tricky. I've lost a few people that have permanently has stayed on breakout rooms, and I don't know what is that about. Okay, well, we have just a few minutes.
We were just
Minutes
talking to
left.
Colby the whole time, so it's fine.
Well, I'm glad I had him on my breakout room.
Listen, if it wasn't about flat Earth, I don't want to hear it.
I almost went into a flat Earth theory for you for my presentation, Colby.
That's my new brand.
Well, thank you everyone for being with us. And hopefully the breakout rooms, you were able to have some really good conversations to point you in the right direction as far as your branding, your value statement, networking, and that will give you some value to go the next step on your career move. So this is just the time that we have left. We have 8 minutes left for you to ask any questions if you want to ask to any of the other panelists that you didn't have a chance to spend great time with them during the breakout session.
I've got one question for the group. What's a one book that you would recommend as far as personal branding goes?
Me?
Anyone?
I'm trying to remember the name of it. There's a really good one that's specifically for LinkedIn, and I'll have to like message the group when I see it. But another one I would recommend anyway, and it's really good for just I guess your career to do, is the 4 Agreements. I don't know if anyone is familiar with this book. I'll have to get you the author too, because it's kind of a different name, but I read it every single year. It gives you 4 agreements that you make with yourself, and they're kind of like goal. Like one of them, for example, is being impeccable with your word. One of them is never taking anything personally. And all of these things really can go behind a personal brand as well. So I would it's an easy read. It's a really good one. I would definitely recommend that one.
I would recommend Present Not Perfect. I think that's one that I still struggle with every day, is trying to be perfect in everything I do, but it doesn't exist. And sometimes just being present is perfection enough. So that's one of my favorites. And especially if you're a parent, it's very hard to be perfect.
Nearly impossible.
Really hard to be present as well.
Especially if you're a working mom, it is a lot.
Maru,
Jerid, do
there
you
might
have
be a
any
question.
recommendations?
Yeah, I'd say like no, there's a book called Known by Mark Schaefer. And it's pretty good about like specifically some tactical steps on how to get to be more well known within the industry, within your own particular field or industry.
Thank you.
Any other questions or final thoughts that our panelists want to share with our attendees?
Looks like Tara asked a question in the chat.
What's the most important question to ask yourself when setting goals outside of your personal brand?
Setting your professional goals, like your career goals?
Let me read it again. What's the
Sorry,
most
my
important question?
computer wasn't wanting to unmute.
Oh.
Yes, when you're setting your professional goals for where you want to go next year or even the next 3 years, what are the steps that you need to ask yourself in aligning yourself with your personal brand to really get those nailed down, so that way you know what you're working toward?
I think doing your values exercise is huge. It'll just help you align throughout the entire process. But it sounds like if you're lucky enough to have a goal in mind for the end of your career, and you know exactly what that looks like, you're already in like the top 10% of the entire world. Most people don't have a clue. So you already have a leg up on people. I would say break that up into smaller steps. And then as you do that next step, what opportunities do you need to get you there? And it comes back down to your personal brand again. So it's those opportunities, right? So what kind of self-promotion do you need to do? What kind of opportunities do you need to have coming to you in order to get to that next step? Because that's going to help you understand how to develop your personal brand in the right way, and then also to put out the right content and develop the right digital presence to get you there. That's mine.
I almost take a little bit of a, if any of you are familiar with like EOS from a business standpoint. It's kind of like aligning your short-term goals up and rolling it all up into more of a long-term goal. So if you take like a little bit more of a strategic approach, like set a 5-year goal, what that looks like for you, then a 3-year, then a 1-year, and then quarterly, and you can kind of almost align some of those action items that you identify that you would need to get to kind of achieve whatever that North Star is for you, in that 5-year goal. And that's maybe a little bit more tactical, Tara. Rather than maybe than what you were asking, but this is kind of how I view it sometimes.
Thank you, Jerid. Do you have any advice, Kathryn, on that?
No, I'm an Excel spreadsheet nerd, so I like to write them down and then put time markers inserted with each action item that I want to do. And this sounds ridiculous, but I do. I actually have a 1-year timeline of all the things I want to accomplish in that year. And Tara, it could be as simple as like I want to get introduced to 4 new people by January. It can be I want to make a connection with someone at Ford. You can really make these small achievable goals. And I'm one of those people where I love to like cross it out that I've done it. So make it personalized for you, but all these little tactical things you can do are going to add up to those bigger goals that you're trying to achieve. And like Jerid said, if you want to run it like an EOS system, you can really break it down by days, quarters, months, years, however you want to do it. But find the rhythm that works for you and just write it down and hold yourself accountable.
Sounds good. Thank you. Well, we have just a couple of minutes, and before we end up closing the session, I invite all of you to connect with us via LinkedIn. We are here to help you. I've offered the people that are in my breakout session, if they have any questions about resumes, career advancement, I'll be happy to help you guys. So as we bring the session to a close, I want to thank everybody. It's a heartfelt thank you to each of you for showing up with curiosity and openness to learn what we have to say. Our great panelists, thank you so much for sharing your insight and your stories and expertise. Thank you for allowing us to have this time with you and help us grow in our career. Hopefully this just sparked a little bit of interest, and it's something that is going to be a catalyst of you being aware of your digital presence, creating your value statement and setting goals, as Kathryn said. Maybe Kathryn, you can send us your Excel sheets, because that has inspired a lot of us. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you. I appreciate your time. And any last thoughts you guys want to say, guys, feel free to close us out.
I just want to say thank you to Colin Cook, Jennifer Cameron, and Mary Helen Stratton. You guys all perfected your pitch in that breakout. And I was so impressed that you guys did those 6 things that quickly. So great job. And I hope that everybody can also perfect their pitch.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.